Indeed, a very good evening to you and welcome to Rwanda Television News with me, Sam Kalisa. Kicking off from the local scene, President Paul Kagame has noted that achieving gender equality in technology and innovation is just one part of the wider struggle to guarantee equal rights and opportunities for women and girls. The Rwandan Head of State made the remarks while addressing the Generation Equality Forum. President Paul Kagame also stated that Rwanda is particularly happy to be associated with the Action Coalition for Technology and Innovation for Gender Equality.
Let me tell you about Rwanda's plans and commitments in this area. First, we aim to bridge the gender gap in digital access by 2026. We will do this in 3 specific areas: ownership of smartphones, access to digital financial services, and science, technology, and math studies at the upper secondary level. Second, we will ensure that our innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem is fully inclusive by doubling the number of women and girls supported by innovation centers. Rwanda has also engaged the East African community in pursuit of possible joint commitments in these domains. Achieving gender equality in technology and innovation is just one part of the wider struggle to guarantee equal rights and opportunities for women and girls. Every human being, regardless of gender, should be able to live the life that they choose. That is the commitment we are all making through the Generation Equality Forum, inspired by the historic outcome of the 4th World Conference on Women a quarter-century ago.
President Paul Kagame also commended the presidents of France and Mexico for championing the initiative together with UN Women Executive Director Phumzile Mlambo Njuka. The forum that is taking place in France, Paris, will end on Friday. The government of Rwanda says it is time for Burundi and Rwanda to build a strong foundation for bilateral relations based on historical and cultural ties to achieve prosperity and sustainable development. This was stated by Rwanda's Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente on Thursday while attending a ceremony to mark the 59th anniversary of Burundi's independence. Today, 1st July, Burundians and friends of Burundi attended the annual celebration of the country's Independence Day. Rwanda's Prime Minister, Dr. Edouard Ngirente, arrived in Bujumbura on Thursday morning to attend on behalf of President Paul Kagame. Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente, who was one of the dignitaries that attended Burundi's 59th Independence Day celebration, said that Rwanda is ready to strengthen relations between two countries.
Au nom de son Excellence Paul Kagame, président de la République du Rwanda et du peuple rwandais, je tiens à vous adresser nos vives félicitations, Monsieur le Président.
On behalf of His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, and Rwandan citizens in general, I want to thank you, Your Excellency, and the people of Burundi on this 59th anniversary of Burundi's independence. Let me take this opportunity also to thank His Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, who invited us in this joyful and historic ceremony. We thank you for welcoming us with hospitality when we got here in Burundi. I want to stress that Rwanda is committed to working with you, Your Excellency, to strengthen our relations. I know very well that we are all committed to striving for good brotherly relations for the benefit of our citizens. The time has come for Burundi and Rwanda to build on the strong foundation of our relations based on historical and cultural ties to achieve prosperity and sustainable development.
Et de vous souhaiter prospérité, paix et succès dans la voie du développement de votre pays. Je vous remercie.
The president of Burundi applauded Rwanda, stressing that The fact that Rwanda participated in this historic ceremony is a strong indicator of the willingness of both countries to rebuild their relations.
Mu migenzo y'ikirundi n'ikinyarwanda tuvuga tuti agafuni kabagara ubumwe n'akarenge.
There is a proverb both in Kinyarwanda and Kirundi that says that a digging hole that strengthens friendship is a foot. The fact that you visited us today has a meaning. We saw and heard. We believe that it is time to read the book we've been writing together in the past years and start a new chapter. We believe that we're getting off the past and planting new things. Thursday's Day is a big sign to us Burundians. Honorable Prime Minister, deliver our message to our friends in Rwanda, especially His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, that this visit made us happy and gave us hope. Thank you.
Karenge mushikaye ngaha mu Burundi kandi kaduhaye umwizero ukomeye murakoze.
Rwanda and Burundi are building their relations that have been broken since 2015. It was by the end of the last year, 2020, that the governments of both countries decided to go back on the table and try to revive the relations that have been broken for over 5 years. Of course, still on the independence, as Rwanda marks 59 years of independence, it has been noted that the independence itself was wasted because instead of uniting Rwandans, it was used to divide them. Serge Nhore has the story.
Belgium granted independence to Rwanda on the 1st of July in 1962, but the colonialists never left and their seeds of division began to bear fruit. The half-baked independence they had granted was then used to create a rift between Rwandans that would last for decades and plunge the country into sorrow for many years to come. They basically told some that they were going to give them independence and allow them to raise a flag while giving them a chance to get rid of their relatives. However, that the colonialists would stay to help in all that, even though independence would be declared. You cannot claim to be independent as a country when you have someone controlling your army, basically laying out all your strategies for you, and yet they never trained you to do such things yourself so that you may acquire that knowledge. The strategies used by the colonialists to divide and rule did, however, not go unnoticed by all as the years passed. Certainly the colonialist did not want to leave the country. Rather, he was trying to stay, and so decided to select individuals who would go into political parties, people they could then use like puppets. It is with sadness that veteran politicians like Sheikh Abdul Karim Harerimana admit that the colonialists were able to do exactly what they had set out to do. During the discussions aired on all of the Rwanda Broadcasting Agency's media platforms, participants noted that because of the gross ignorance of the politicians of parties like Parmehutu and others as to what the country really needed, independence was seen simply as an opportunity to get rid of the monarchy and the Tutsi, instead of a golden opportunity to instead address the problems that were plaguing Rwandans. They organized a coup d'etat that did not exist prior with the objective of getting rid of the Tutsi and the king, and give a prominent position to the white colonialists. And after they took power at that time, they failed to unite the Rwandan family so that it could address its own problems. Now that the colonial period had passed, they did not do their job of uniting Rwandans. Among the most pressing problems to address was that of refugees, yet the government of the time claimed the country was already full, despite having a population of just 5.5 million people. Rwanda's population stood at 5.5 million people. In 1994, when the genocide against the Tutsi was implemented, Rwandans numbered 7.5 million. We now number close to 13 million, and there is plenty of space for everyone. We are even increasing, though of course people are urged to give birth to those they are able to properly care for. But the fact is our population has almost doubled compared to the time those claims were made, and yet we have fresh air to breathe, land to cultivate, and much more. The division that had become the hallmark of the country culminated in the 1994 genocide that was perpetrated against the Tutsi, and it was stopped by the soldiers of what used to be the Rwanda Patriotic Army in July that year, when they liberated the entire country in the process.
Thank you, Serge, for that report. And of course, following the issuing of the latest COVID-19 preventive measures, restaurants that will only provide takeaway and delivery services are content that there has been an increase in the demand of services they offer. Gabi Muvunyi has this report.
Food establishments in Kigali are usually a magnet for visitors from all over the city. However, on Thursday, the sight was quite different. Chairs and tables have been tucked away, and we saw no bustling visitors hopping through restaurants. There were a few people who had chosen to come and pick up their takeaway food. The takeaway services is something that we usually do, except maybe in terms of the national preventive measures, where our customer numbers have decreased. But I hope that the numbers will increase. People would often come and sit while they have their meals, but the measures change depending on how the pandemic is going, and we have to protect ourselves.
And indeed, this is the day one of what the government has actually put down as the COVID guidelines to ensure that the COVID pandemic is actually put on a flatter curve. I must say we are only engaging Vuba and Rush Foods at the moment, and we're also expecting in clients who are walk-ins, but that is not on a bigger percentage because most of the people are at home. They're not working either in the offices, so they're mostly at home, and so we are dependent 100% on Vuba and Rush Foods.
Those who provide these sort of service delivery packages, with the help of technology, say the number of customers is increasing, and that they have no problem getting orders to their destinations. We now have dedicated bags that keep the temperature of the food. If it's cold, it will remain cold. If it's hot, it will remain hot, depending on what the client has ordered. As for the delivery, there is no problem. That is, if it's between 30 to 45 minutes, he or she will receive the package within that time.
We do have complaints from customers where a packaging, let's say a pizza packaging, a box is somewhere between 500 and 1,000. Mostly it's, of course, because of the fabricant. But I would say currently it's available on the market on a higher price. I believe as we get more of made in Rwanda fabricates, it's going to be quite more affordable than how it is now, especially that nowadays we're working on fighting the plastic cup usage and then the aluminum foils to literally shift more on the paper bags in terms of packaging fully to go totally environmental friendly packaging.
No, I think I want to urge people to actually just exercise the guidelines that have been put in place. It's a matter of time, and we'll be lucky to actually see COVID go away if we actually follow all the guidelines that the government has put in place with RBC, and we will be able to get back our lives. But if we do not do that, we will be back on and off with this situation. So I urge all the people, let us support the government, let us support RBC to ensure that we stick to the COVID guidelines.
The new COVID-19 preventive measures require that restaurants only provide takeaway services, and the Minister of Trade and Industry, Beata Habyarimana, is urging the service providers to continue respecting the measures in place. Packaging vendors should showcase their products so that those restaurants can also access them, so that when a customer orders something, they can use them for packing their food. In addition to Kigali City, takeaway services in restaurants have also taken effect in 8 districts in the provinces, namely Burera, Gicumbi, Kamonyi, Musanze, Nyagatare, Rubavu, Rutsiro, and Ramagana. Gabi Muvunyi for RTV.
Thank you, Gabi, for the report. Now moving ahead, the National Examination and School Inspection Authority, NESA, is requesting parents of children who are preparing for the national exams to ensure that they study during their vacation. As Jedumali reports, this is all to make sure that there is no academic gap between them and the students remaining at school.
This Thursday, students from Gisagara, Huye and Nyamagamba districts in the southern province, Nyamasheke, Rusizi, Karongi, and Rutsiro districts in the Western Province, and students in Kigali City are returning home to their families after the school term. They said they were worried about how they would reach their families because of the travel restrictions between districts.
There were concerns because I heard about the restriction setup with traveling from district to district. I felt it would really be difficult. We wondered how we would live and felt it was a problem.
I had no hope of returning immediately, but I am thankful to God that I am here. So I urge my friends to continue the fight against COVID-19 because the pandemic is still there, and I have seen those that are suffering from this virus. They told us they would help us get home. I have left and I made sure to follow the guidelines given to fight the spread of COVID-19. I maintained the distance, wore my mask well, and followed the other guidelines. The process of transporting these children safely back home is carried out in accordance with COVID-19 prevention measures and will last for 4 days. Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority spokesperson assures that the process will be successful and urges parents to be prepared to pick up their children while continuing to fight the spread of COVID-19.
We have no worries because it is being handled to the best of its abilities. We are doing what is necessary to ensure that the children follow the guidelines as well. But with them heading home, we ask parents to watch over and ensure that they stay at home. The situation is getting more serious and everyone can see, and we are doing our best to protect everyone.
Some of the students have chosen to remain at school and prepare for the national exams. Among these students are Tetakle Dor and Rutaisire Olivier, who will be graduating from high school. We spend a lot of our own time studying, and there are times set up by the school as well. With all these added hours, we will be properly prepared for upcoming exams.
We are being taught to tighten and follow the guidelines, including wearing a mask and washing our hands, so that on the exam day we will not have anything to worry about because we have met all the requirements. So now we are ready.
Although there are students preparing for the national exams from school, there are also students preparing to head home that must prepare for the exam. The Director General of the National Examination and School Inspection Authority, NESA, urges parents to help children prepare better.
What we are asking parents to do is to continue to help children who are preparing for exams at home. If there is work to do at home, let them not do it and use the time to prepare. The time left is very short, and we hope that those at school will not outdo those who are preparing from home.
The national exams are expected to start on the 20th of July with a little more than 122,000 students sitting for the O-level exams, while more than 52,000 students sit for the A-level exams, while there are 22,000 students sitting in from vocational schools. Umgari Jade, RTV News.
Thank you, Jed, for that report. Now back to measures to fight the spread of COVID-19. Mental health experts say COVID-19 patients need psychological consultation since when the brain is calm and stable, its self-defense abilities increase. Some residents say that having family members or friends who tested positive for COVID-19 has given them a difficult time. He called me on phone and told me that he tested positive, and told me that COVID-19 almost killed him, yet he didn't agree to the fact that the disease is real. He really struggled, and of course, since he's my friend, I was afraid and decided to strengthen preventive measures. I believe that COVID-19 exists because I saw patients. It made me feel very bad. It scared me a lot because it is a deadly disease. It makes you live in isolation since you can't live together with your partners. Hemuka Magnus, who works with the COVID-19 medical team, especially in the field of mental health, says that COVID-19 patients, mostly those who have been hospitalized, experience events that might affect their mental health. Sometimes when a patient sees that another person has died of the virus, when they are even younger than them, they feel like they are the next to die. The fact that this person saw another patient getting even more ill slowly by slowly affects them even more. When that happens, we help them with counseling, and when that continues, we give them more medicine. Hemuka also says that when a person's mental health is stable, it quickens the healing process. The manufacture of body cells starts within the brain. When the brain is bothered, even the medicine they give you doesn't work. Caring for a patient's mental health helps them to fight against the effects of the virus, more than a patient who haven't been given any mental health guidance. The COVID-19 medical frontline team says that even people receiving home-based treatment are assisted through phone calls and established health centers. Of course, on behalf of the entire news and technical team that made it happen, thank you very much for being with us. My name is Sam Kalisa. Please do remember that COVID-19 is out there and practice all the measures in place, including social distancing. Of course, whenever in public, wash your hands regularly with clean water and soap, sanitize, and of course, put on your face mask correctly. And yes, together, we can flatten the curve of the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, have a good evening and a fruitful week ahead.